Hello and welcome to the Growing Pair episode 2. My name is Isaac and co-host with me here is...
Hiya, it's Sham.
Hello Sham. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I can't complain. Of course I can, but I can't complain. So today in our episode we will discuss with you is why do we want to be a coach? And a bonus question is, can anyone be a life coach? So why do we want to be a life coach, and can anyone be a life coach? But before we go there, now Sham, you have your special role in our podcast. Get us to the zone, take us in with the breathing technique.
My absolute pleasure. As everyone sometimes has, and I explained last episode, you can have a busy time and you just need to recenter yourself before we get into the podcast. As you can see from me, not putting any nice clothes on, I'm in my gym gear, and I thought you guys can have me as genuine, authentic Sham. So let's take a second. We're going to do a round of 3 breath work. Stick with me. Right. You can close your eyes if you want, but not if you're driving. Right. So we want to breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last one. In for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Zen.
I mean, if you guys don't follow it through, you're missing. This is just, fantastic way to just centralize yourself. We had, before we were recording it, we had a long chat about other stuff, and now I'm completely focused on this podcast. So thank you so much, Sham. So
Good.
What happened to how we progressed since last week with our studies then? Any progress you want to share with our audience?
Progress I'd like to share. Well, from a personal point of view, I met 2 of my friends this week before I go away next week, who have both had life coaching. Oh. And I don't think we would have, one of which I've known for years and years and years, one of which does my eyebrows for me. And I don't think I would have had this conversation with them if it wasn't for what I'm doing at the moment. And it was really lovely to hear the benefits that they found from their life coaching. One of which, it's a male. He's a guy who runs a really successful business. And it's not necessarily someone I would have thought would have bought into life coaching. So it was really nice for me to have my eyes open to the kind of people who could be interested in it. And they both said it changed their lives. Wow. For the better, obviously. And they've given me their coaches' details for me to reach out to them. And one of these coaches apparently is a guy who has a building company, who does it on the side of this building company that he has. At one point, he was really kind of down and out and trying to find his way in life himself. And I think at one point he found himself homeless. And I just found these stories inspiring, that people can turn their lives around and do something so amazing, but also great to hear the impact that coaching can have on someone's life. And also to wake me up to the fact that the kind of people that may be interested in what you and I hopefully one day will be able to offer them. So although not necessarily study focused, it was a real red car moment, if you were listening to the last podcast, of me opening myself up to other interesting opportunities of discussion with people, and it gave me a little boost in what we're doing.
Wow, and that's fantastic to hear. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I agree with everything you said. Since I'm into this life coaching studies, I'm just spreading the word. And I'm just explaining people what life coach means. And that takes us to our next question in this podcast. Why do we want to be a life coach? What's the reason for us to be a life coach? So let's start with you, Sham. Why do you want to be a life coach?
So I want to be a life coach because there's two factors to this for me. When I lost my mum just over 10 years ago, it was a shock. It was one day she was here, the next day she was not. There was no illness or anything. So it was a real poignant change in my life. And after we lost her, and I was very lucky to grow up in a super loving family, it was a real shock to us all. And obviously, as with a lot of people, when you feel super down and out and you're not feeling good mentally, you often turn to professionals. So I turned to a counsellor, and it was awful. It probably made things a lot worse for me, but I felt like that's what I should be doing. And I just picked the wrong person. And it put me off of counselling, therapy, whatever it may be, for nearly 10 years. And we obviously worked through the loss of her as a family and with my incredible friends. But then I reached a point in my life of wanting to revisit it. So, as I'm sure we'll talk about in another podcast, but at the beginning of last year, I found myself at a really mentally low point. And my friend said to me, have you thought about therapy again? Because she's been a great advocate for it. She's found it's really helped her. And I'd been putting it off because of this one bad experience. And so I went out there again. I had a little look and I found someone that I felt like I could have a better connection with. The first lady, nothing wrong with her, but there was no common ground. I didn't feel kind of any sort of human connection there. And I started with this lady at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, and she has changed my life for the better. I adore her. So that feeling of having someone to talk to where it's a safe space and it's a comfortable space, and them actually equipping you with tools to help you in life when you do feel like perhaps there's no, well, you're unsure of how to move forward positively. She's really done that for me. Now, the second part to my reason, and then I'll throw the question back at you, is that I have a lot of people in my life. I've met a lot of people in my life where perhaps therapy is, it's not right for everyone. It may be in the future, but right now therapy is too much to think about. There's too much perhaps trauma to unpick right now. People are scared of it. People don't know how to go from absolutely no mental wellness to going to therapy, which can be really painful if you've got a lot of stuff to unpack. And for me, life coaching could add so much value to those people's lives, because we're not necessarily looking to unpick trauma. We're looking to how do we move forward in a more positive light. And I could see it really benefiting a lot of people in my life that aren't ready for therapy. So I want to take my experiences and kind of bridge that gap for people. Let's look forward. How can I create, because it's all still confidential with us, isn't it? How can I create a safe space for you? Let's talk about things, but let's look forward. Let's not necessarily straight away unpack the past, because not everyone's ready. That's why I want to be.
You gave a very, very, good description and reasoning to what the reason why you want to be a life coach. And I'm just trying to think if I can, level to that.
Whatever your reasons, they will be valid, and I can't wait to hear them.
But before I will explain why I want to be a life coach, I think you picked up a very, very good topic there about therapy versus life coach. And I think in one of the episodes we should touch it and we should talk about it, because I am a great believer of therapy as well. I've been doing therapy for years and years, had different therapies, and some were better than others. Some were, helped me, somewhere which I felt, okay, this is the end of the road with us. And the way I look at it, and it's correct not only for a therapy, it's also correct for a life coach, especially if you're picking a person that will, go with you for a while. It's like going to a shoe store. You can kind of measure your shoes, the same size you are, and you walk on them and they're not feeling comfortable no matter what. So you don't need to buy them, but that doesn't mean that you won't buy other set of shoes, would you? Right? So that's how I see it. So having a bad experience with a therapist or with a life coach doesn't mean you need to put an end of the road of it. It means that this specific person didn't give you the answer or the right tools or the right path you actually needed. As you said, I think for me, being a life coach is focused on the future. And I am a great believer of a therapy process. I believe that anyone in this world should be at least once in a therapy process, because we have so much things we are carrying from our past, even without us knowing, from the childhood, even with us really realizing that there are some stuff that are in our way of moving forward. However, therapy, in my mind, ends in discovering the past. But how can I go within the future? I got help of discovering the past. I need help of discovering my future. And that's what life coach is. And I would love to be in a position where I can help people to see it, to reach their goals, to make their dream come true. So that's how I see it. I believe I have this gift. I believe I have this gift that people can talk to me quite easily, open up to me. And yeah, if I have this gift, why can't I share it with others?
Well, from knowing you for a few weeks now, I can confirm you do have that gift.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Bearing in mind, I just called Isaac and said, can we have a gossip before we do our podcast? I need to talk about something with you. And it just all comes out like verbal diarrhea. It's just, you bring it out of me, Isaac. So, and all jokes aside, I think people can maybe overlook their natural ability at certain things. Not everyone is a good listener. Not everyone cares. And that's okay. Everyone should kind of live how they want to live.
So that takes us to the second question of this podcast is, can anyone be a life coach? What do you think?
But it's a really interesting one, actually. And I'm kind of torn because I don't believe that anyone can't do anything that they really want to achieve. I'm a true believer that everyone has the capacity. Obviously, I'm not talking, I know there are external factors and I'm coming from a very privileged space. But I do truly believe anyone can do what they want to do if they put their mind to it. However, I don't think necessarily everyone would enjoy it. I don't think it's necessarily kind of, not everyone wants to listen to other people's problems or whatever it may be, or not even problems. Other people, I think the world is a difficult place for people, whatever background you're from and whatever culture you live in. And I don't necessarily think people have the headspace or the empathy to enjoy doing it. That's a politician's answer. I've stayed on the fence.
You're calling it politician's answer and you're kind of downgrading the value of this answer, because I think your answer is quite matching what I feel. I think as a life coach, one of the most important ingredients to have or quality to have is to be able to listen and to be able to shut your mouth and just listen. And some people are struggling of doing it. To be honest with you, I think that sometimes I can't shut up and listen because I want to say something, and I want to, and it's a practice to sit there listening to someone and be focused with this someone, just listen. But that doesn't mean whether you can be, life coach or not. It's something I believe can be developed. I think you said correctly about the empathy, and I think you said another thing very, very correct, that anyone can maybe do it, but not necessarily anyone or everyone can enjoy it. That is the key here. And I believe that if you want to be a life coach and you believe this is your destiny and you believe that, this is your what you really would love to do, by all means, learn it. Go for it. I think we are learning about ourselves so much from these studies. So it will just benefit you just learning about yourself. Then decide whether you want to be a life coach or not. It's not. But learning the process of life coaching opens up so much into your soul and to yourself.
I totally agree. And we are as one, Isaac, because I have said to my friends when I started this course that, because they know better than anyone, that I'm just like you. Sometimes I have to shut the hell up, woman, because if someone comes to me with a problem, I start problem solving. Like, have you tried A, B, C, let's do this, I'll do this for you. And actually sometimes people just want to be heard. They don't want a solution straight away. They may never want a solution. They just want to feel heard. So practicing this active listening is a massive piece for me as well. Whether coaching works out or not, that's going to be something that's going to grow me as a person for sure.
And another thing that you now raised, and we will finalize this episode with this idea, is about giving solutions to others. As a life coach, we are not supposed to advise. We are not supposed to give solutions. As a life coach, we need to ask the right questions because we believe that the answers are within each one of you. As life coaches, we are there to support you to reveal those answers by asking you those questions. And and again, I'm like you. When someone came to me with a problem, I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, did you try? No, this is a completely a new skill for me that I'm picking up, and I love it. I absolutely love it because it is working. It is working. Doing it with pro bono clients at the moment, I'm following these practices of you're not giving advice, you are asking questions. Even if you have idea, you are asking questions, you're not giving advice. You see how the people are more committed to the answers they give because it came from them.
Beautiful. Well said.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you. So before we finishing this episode, what are the 2 things you are taking from this episode?
The 2 things I'm taking is from my experiences this week, as I say, or last couple of days of talking to people who have had life coaching, is to not judge a book by its cover, and not assume I know the kind of people that will want life coaching. In fact, everyone may be open to it. So don't put that limiting belief in their charm of who would and wouldn't want it. And the second thing is, from what you've just said, that coaching is empowering our coachees. It's going to be a long, hard old road for me to shut up and stop giving advice, but it's all about empowerment. And that empowers me to think that I could help someone with their feeling, stepping into their powering or powerful self. That's exciting to me.
For
What
me,
about you, Seth?
all right, thank you. For me, actually, two things. First of all, is the active listening. I know that I'm learning that, but saying it out loud in this podcast, talking about it, it's actually made me realize again. You need to listen. You need to. In our reflection journals, in our studies, when I write things on after I'm doing my practical sessions, I'm writing. You need to be more active. I'm like saying that to myself over and over again. I'm just not listening, am I?
So you need to start actively listening to yourself. Gotcha.
Yes, that would be a good start. And the second thing is, just before we started to record this, we had a chat between us, and I raised some questions and concerns about this process and would I get there? And actually, again, talking about it, the passion in me is building up again. It's burning in my soul. I would like to be a life coach, and you know what? I will be a life coach, and I will be a successful life coach, and I will make this magnificent process for people to go through.
That's my boy. Go get him, Tiger.
So before we finish our episode this time, thank you so much if you listened or watched us in YouTube, because we are in both Spotify and Apple Podcast and YouTube. You can see us. You can see how gorgeous Sham is. Not just listen to her gorgeous voice. And please review, rate, comment, get in touch. Our email is thegrowingpair@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to hear your thoughts about being a life coach. You want to be a life coach. What does it mean to be a life coach for you? Get in touch with us. And thank you, Sham, for this episode. And until next time, see you soon.
Cheers,
Hear from you
crew.
soon. Bye.
Mwah. Bye.